Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And this video is called Trying to Change the Narcissist or Fix Yourself, right? To get love from them, be enough for them, please them. Have the fairy tale that they sold you is a losing game. But before I get into that, I want to tell you about this channel. If you have been on my channel before, I love you. Thank you so much for your time, energy and presence here. If you're new to me, multi-dimensional approach means we're dealing with this on all levels because it's a multi-dimensional issue, meaning spiritual, emotional, physical and energetic, right? Narcissistic abuse is a spiritual attack on the psychic realm as well as on your mind, body and emotional body and energy field. I want to remind you that I do talk about the types of narcissists and I make it very simple for you to understand. There's a wealth of information on the internet about what a narcissist is and how they act. I am focused here on the people who do not want to walk on eggshells anymore, do not want to live the rest of their lives having to stonewall people, do not want to live in the grey rock method. I'm not saying that temporarily you might not need to, they're great strategies. Do not want to live in fear of consequences of what somebody could do to you if you claim your sovereignty, your freedom and your personal power. I'm talking to people who are ready to say, I will not live this way anymore. It ends with me. I'm talking to the people who, even if you don't believe that anything good could happen to you anymore, I've been there several times in my life, you're willing to at least borrow a bit of my belief that I have for me and for you, and to walk in hope of true connection, true love, not a life of defense and isolation and protection from narcissists. Yes, you need to know what they are. Absolutely, which is why I do this channel. Yes, you need to be aware of these predators and understand that they're a demonic force. Beyond that, you've got to be self-focused. A big part of my teachings and coachings is about and is coming into us, because all narcissistic abuse takes you away from you. And when you're taken away from who you really are, you give up on your dreams, your desires, your belief in true love, true connections, a fulfilling, emotionally fulfilling life. Being at your, doesn't have to be your full potential, but at least being inspired by the life you could have. If you're ready for that, you're definitely in the right place. If you're not ready for that, but you're willing to just plug into that, you're in the right place. Too many of us are spending our life getting away from narcissists, but not truly living a life worth living. We are choosing to create, manifest, learn principles of quantum physics where we actually transform. So I don't just do healing, although that's a big part of my work. We work in transformation. I've been a coach for many years, long time before I was teaching on narcissistic abuse. I was always a healer, but I also was a peak performance coach. So I'm integrating those things. Now, I'm not talking about magical ideas that don't work. And that is a little bit of what upsets me about the coaching industry, right? Because if you don't understand trauma, you won't understand why some people don't get the same results. We have to understand trauma to be able to cleanse and clear and then manifest our true lives, right? If you have been looking at other people and wondering why they get to manifest so easily and you don't, I bet you anything trauma's involved. It's not that you're not capable, it's proportionate to the level of trauma we have in our energy field, because people try and manifest from the conscious mind, right? But the universe responds to our entire energy. So that's just a little bit of an introduction. Trying to change the narcissist or fix yourself for them, right, is a big trap. It's one of the biggest traps we fall into. Why? In the love bombing stage, the narcissist has presented an illusion of who they are. Now, you and the narcissist, whether they're your parent, partner, boss, friend, live in a shared fantasy. They're pretending to be someone they're not, and you're wanting to reignite the person you thought they were, which is not who they actually are, right? So we try and change them. We exasperate ourselves, sometimes trying to show them videos on narcissists, sometimes trying to get them to therapy, doing everything we can to raise the awareness of a person who's operating with an entity of consciousness that has absolutely zero desire to change. You see, I've worked in change and transformation for many years, and the biggest thing about that is people have to want it. If you want to change your life, you have to want it, because guess what? It takes focus and the discipline to apply. It doesn't have to be hard work, but if you read the reviews of my program Sovereign, people get extraordinary results. I'm so happy to hear it, and I'm so happy to walk through the challenges with you. But what people will say, it's not a lot of work. I don't overload people, because I know with PTSD you can't take, you're probably in overload as it is. But it is the willingness to apply yourself to it, right? So all change, if it has to come from the individual, and they have to want it. A narcissist, they think it's working for them. That's the biggest problem. And it is, because they get to siphon your energy. They get to use people and throw them away. They live in this kind of disposable, use and abuse type mentality, where it's very disconnected on a soul level, but they're not looking for emotional fulfillment like we are. Why? Because they're soul detached. They're emotionally void. Even the anger and everything like that that they channel, it's not coming from the same place. They don't get emotional turmoil like we do. They just have rage tantrums most of the time. So trying to change them is where we tend to invest a lot of time when we haven't learned about this cycle. And I'm telling you, narcissists don't change. I have made videos on here, but I'm very aware that when you're in the enmeshment and addiction with a narcissist, you hope one day that this lie of a fairy tale will happen, and they'll have this awakening and change and become the person that you want them to be. This is part of the illness, because of being in the narcissistic abuse cycle, because the chance of that happening are extremely rare, right? Very unlikely. Even if they did, they wouldn't be the person you know, because they are different around different people. These are master manipulators and basically projectors of illusion on the planet, which means that the person you thought you fell in love with, or that you loved during certain love bombing stages, or when they managed to kind of mirror you back to you and pretend basically to be sharing values, you know, the fun person or the loving person or the sexually hot for you person, whatever it is that hooks you, that they project on you, that's not their real self. So if they did have an awakening, they'd be a completely different person, probably not one you'd even know or be attracted to. So the whole thing is an illusion. They project illusions, and we get in, because, you know, think about this. When we want the narcissist to change, what we're really thinking is we want them to change back to who we thought they were. But they're never that person, and they cannot sustain that person, because it's kind of a reflection of what you needed them to be to fall in love with them or stay attached to them. That's what they know how to do. So that person doesn't exist. Right? So we think we can change them into some kind of higher awareness and into sustaining that illusion, but they're not that person whatsoever. In fact, when they show their true colours, which they always do, that's who they really are. That's their consistent behaviour. Everything else is just a manipulation tool and something that they cannot hold because it's not authentic to them. The other trap we fall into in what I mean, a narcissist will always make you think there's something wrong with you. Even in Sovereign, I teach in one of the things, like they'll constantly make subtle suggestions that you can't trust yourself and that you're not okay. They'll often call you mentally ill. If you're going through a hard time, instead of like boosting you up, and they'll often like make you feel even more crazy or even more sick or even more poor or even more burdened, right? They won't empower your strength. They'll empower your disempowerment, right? They'll try and bring you down, but often subtly. So they're constantly making us feel like we're the problem. If you bring up any information to try and help them change, the narcissist will always call you the narcissist at some point, or imply that it's actually your problem that you can't put up with the terrible behavior, right? You shouldn't be so emotional. You shouldn't be so insecure. You shouldn't be so jealous. You shouldn't have an emotional reality according to the narcissist. So people try and fix themselves, get rid of who they are, because guess what? Your emotional experience of life is your entire experience of life. How you feel is related to who you are, and it matters. Your values matter. How you feel about things matters. They try and switch off your connection to you and your soul, your emotions. Now, I'm not saying act out on your emotions. I teach people how to process them, but use the message is related to your guidance system, what's going to be good for you in life, and who you are. People trying to shut you down, talk over you, change the subject, toxic positive you into feeling good when you don't, not being able to stand being around you because you're going through something, or perhaps almost like competing with you when you say you've got something going on with you. And or toxic people, narcissistic people will often start telling you it's not that bad, diminishing your experiences, devaluing it, often like almost playing that they have it much worse than you, and just shaming you, guilting you subconsciously. All of that incredibly toxic, doesn't let you be who you are. I teach my clients and on this channel all the time, does this environment, does this person make me feel like I can be more of me, or do I have to contract here and be less of who I really am? Are my emotions welcome? Because your emotions are linked to who you are. Am I welcome here? Do I feel like I can be expanded here? Yeah? Is it lifting me up or is it pulling me down? These are what you need to know. You do not need to know everything about narcissists. You do not need a PhD in narcissism. You just have to understand that learning what I teach about being self-focused means, can I come into my body and am I willing to trust myself? Is this expanding or contracting me? Now, sometimes when we're contracted, we need to communicate. That's fine. A boundary. Yeah, what's working for us, what isn't. We need to check that we're in an appropriate context. So, for example, we've got a realistic expectation of what we're willing to give and receive in friendships and relationships, yeah? But you still get to set your standards. You still get to say, I don't want friends who can't support me emotionally. I don't want friends who put me down. I don't want friends who I have to be 1% of myself around to exist, because in those situations, I can't fully be me and I can't fully exist. Now, is everyone going to be perfect around us? No. But we know when something feels off inside. We know when we're not getting anywhere near our needs met in relationships, right? And I promise you there's better ones for you. So please join Sovereign if you can. The price is going up next month because I've opened it for a year. But it's worth getting in when you're ready. There's the sooner you get in, the better, because the more content you're going to get. You'll have access to all the live Q&As and personal coaching. It's the fastest way to not only get rid of your trauma, but also to come into your authentic power and truth, which is what I'm all about on this channel. If we could start talking about ourselves, our dreams, our desires, who we are, be in environments that can make space for you. We don't live in our traumas when we're actually living in who we are, right? We revert back to our traumas when people, environments, circumstances keep re-triggering them and they're unresolved in us. So I teach you how to resolve those traumas, but also bloom and blossom no matter how hard it's been or what you've been through. Lots of love, guys. I'll speak to you soon.